The bell had barely rung when the laughter started. Water spread across the hallway tiles in a blue, glassy sheet. Maya Johnson's sneakers skidded. Her books flew. A roar of teenage delight followed, the kind that feeds on humiliation. "Careful, Janitor Jr.," said Chloe Whitmore. Phone raised, recording. Her friends cackled behind her. The mop bucket rolled against a locker with a hollow clang. Maya blinked up from the floor, palms stinging, cheeks burning. She caught sight of her mother, Mrs. Johnson, rounding the corner with a trash cart. The hallway quieted as the woman stooped beside her daughter, gathering soaked notebooks. "Come on, baby," she murmured. "Let's clean it up before someone slips." Her voice was calm, too calm, and that calm embarrassed Maya more than laughter ever could. Chloe flipped her hair. "You missed a spot, ma'am." Mrs. Johnson paused, eyes steady, the kind of gaze that carries both fatigue and something deeper, recognition maybe, though she couldn't yet place it. Amid the squeak of the mop, Maya whispered, "Mom, please, just leave it." But Mrs. Johnson smiled faintly. "We finish what we start." When the hallway emptied, she looked toward the far end, where Chloe disappeared with her friends. For a reason she couldn't name, something in that girl's face lingered like an echo from another lifetime. As Mrs. Johnson wheeled her cart away, she whispered under her breath, "Some lessons find us whether we want them or not." Evening shadows stretched long over the narrow sidewalks of Oak Ridge. Maya and her mother walked home in silence, shoes tapping out two different rhythms, one tired, one restless. Their uniforms still smelled faintly of bleach. "Mom," Maya said quietly, "why do you let them talk to us like that?" Mrs. Johnson didn't slow her pace. "Because sometimes silence tells the truth louder than anger. But it's not fair." "No, baby," she said, "it's not. But fairness and peace don't always live in the same house." A city bus whooshed past, spraying dust. Mrs. Johnson adjusted the strap of her cleaning bag and smiled faintly. "One day you'll walk through those same halls and nobody will remember the bucket. They'll remember your name." Across town, the Whitmore house glowed like a picture in a magazine. Glass walls, chandeliers, laughter echoing off marble. "Dad, you have to see this," Chloe said over dinner, sliding her phone across the table. "It's hilarious." Robert pressed play. The video showed a blur of blue water, a girl falling, laughter, then a woman's face turning toward the camera. That face. Something inside him shifted, faint and electric, like a forgotten song he almost recognized. "That's not funny, Chloe," he said. "Oh, please," she scoffed. "It's harmless." Everyone thought it was a joke. Her mother chuckled lightly. "Teenagers, Robert. Don't be so grim." Chloe twirled spaghetti on her fork, smug. "Some people just can't take a little fun. It's not my fault she lives in a mop bucket." The line landed heavy. Robert's jaw tightened. "Being born into comfort doesn't make you better, Chloe. It just gives you fewer excuses to be unkind." Chloe rolled her eyes. "Relax, Dad. I'm kidding." The laughter returned, but Robert stayed gone. He turned back to his plate, appetite fading, the image of that woman's face flickering behind his eyes. Not judgmental, not pleading, just familiar. Before we continue, if you believe privilege is never an excuse for unkindness, tap like, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Let's keep stories of empathy and change alive. Later that night, Maya sat at the kitchen table doing homework while her mother ironed uniforms for the next day. The radio hummed an old gospel tune. "Mom," Maya said suddenly, "do you ever wish you had more?" Mrs. Johnson smiled at the steam rising from the iron. "I have more than enough. You just don't see it yet." Outside, rain began to fall, the same rain that would soon wash two separate worlds toward a single truth. At the Whitmore home, Robert stepped onto the balcony. The rain cooled his face, and that same woman's image flashed again, the one from the video. He couldn't remember her name, but something deep inside whispered that he should. The auditorium pulsed with chatter and color, banners, flags, polished shoes, and the scent of fresh paint from the art club's displays. It was Family Heritage Week, the school's proudest tradition, a chance for the elite to parade where they came from, and for scholarship students to remember what they'd left behind. Maya smoothed the creases from her simple poster board. It wasn't fancy, just a printed photo of her grandmother sewing in front of a wooden house, and a handwritten title, Threads That Held Us Together. When her turn came, her voice trembled at first. My grandmother raised 6 children alone, she began. She used to say, a stitch isn't about hiding the tear, it's about holding what's left. Her classmates were quiet, maybe out of politeness, maybe because the truth in her words felt too plain to mock. In the back row, Mrs. Johnson stood with her cleaning cart, wiping down chairs as presentations cycled on. She didn't look at her daughter. She wanted Maya's moment to belong entirely to her. Then came Chloe's turn. Her slideshow flicked onto the projector, glossy family portraits, vacation mansions, coats of arms she'd Googled the night before. My great-great-grandfather came from Kent, she said proudly, and our family still owns part of the original estate. Polite applause. Chloe smirked toward Maya. Some of us come from builders, she said into the microphone, and some of us come from cleaners. Laughter rippled. Maya's face stayed blank, but her mother's hand tightened around the mop handle. At that moment, the auditorium doors swung open. Robert Whitmore entered, late and crisp in a gray suit, scanning the crowd. The principal beamed. Our very own board member, Mr. Whitmore. The audience clapped. He waved awkwardly and took a seat. Then it happened. As Chloe wrapped up her final slide, Mrs. Johnson climbed the steps to polish the podium between sessions. Robert's gaze caught hers, a flicker of shock, recognition, and memory all at once. The years fell away. The summer light of a forgotten apartment, the scent of rain on skin, a night that had never entirely left him. She froze mid-wipe, cloth in hand. For a split second, everything in the room dimmed. Applause, laughter, the hum of the projector. Only their locked eyes remained. Mrs. Johnson broke first. She looked away, finished her task, and pushed her cart toward the exit without a word. Chloe frowned. Dad? What's wrong? He blinked hard. Nothing, sweetheart. Just thought I saw someone I used to know. She smiled. Another lawyer? He didn't answer. His gaze followed the closing door until it latched softly behind the janitor. Outside the auditorium, Mrs. Johnson leaned against her cart, heart pounding. 16 years of silence pressed against her chest. Maybe it was time, she thought. Time he finally knew the truth about the daughter he never realized he had. The rain had started soft, like static against glass, when the last parents left the heritage event. The parking lot shimmered under amber streetlights, reflections of taillights and puddles merging into one restless mirror. Mrs. Johnson stood by her old sedan, hand resting on the door handle, heart drumming against 16 silent years. She could have left. She almost did, but her feet wouldn't move. Behind her, a car door shut. Renee? She turned. Robert Whitmore stood beneath a black umbrella, the glow from the overhead lamps tracing disbelief across his face. It's really you, he said quietly. I wasn't sure. I thought that I disappeared. Her tone was flat, almost kind. I didn't. Life just stopped calling my name. He swallowed. You work here. I clean here, she corrected. Different kind of work. The rain thickened. Drops thudded against the hood of her car. I didn't even know you were still in the state, he said. I looked once after everything, but you were gone. I was right where you left me, she replied, a faint smile touching her lips. Just harder to find once you stopped looking. He took a step closer, voice softening. Are you happy? She met his eyes. Happy enough to live with my choices. He nodded, unsure what that meant. His hand tightened on the umbrella handle. And that young girl inside. The student. She's your daughter? Pride warmed her expression. She is. He smiled faintly. She's bright. She spoke beautifully today. She's everything I prayed she'd be, Mrs. Johnson replied. For a moment, they simply stood there, the rain filling the pauses their words couldn't. Then she said it, quietly, deliberately. "She's yours, Robert." He blinked, not understanding. "Mine." Renee nodded. "Maya's your child." The words seemed to take time to reach him. They passed through disbelief, through memory, through every excuse he'd ever built. He shook his head slowly. "No, Renee, that can't. I mean." She cut him off gently. "It was the summer before you left for Chicago. You remember the night it rained so hard the streetlights went out? I found out weeks later." He stepped back, dizzy. Renee, I didn't know." "I know," she said gently. He shook his head. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you were leaving to start your life, and I refused to make it smaller." He stared at her through the rain, silence heavy with lost years. "Does she know?" he whispered. "Not yet," she said. "But she will. Truth grows restless when you keep it buried." She turned and left him standing there, the rain swallowing every sound except his whisper, "Maya." From the second-floor window above, Chloe watched her father standing in the lot, drenched, motionless, staring at nothing. She couldn't hear a word, but she knew the look on his face, the look of a man who'd just seen a ghost that remembered him. The next morning, the Whitmore house felt different. Not visibly. The marble floors still gleamed, the air still smelled faintly of lavender and money, but something had shifted. At breakfast, Chloe watched her father's uneaten toast, his distant stare. "Did something happen last night?" she asked. He forced a smile. "Just tired." Later, Mrs. Whitmore joined them, cheerful but strained. "You've looked pale all morning, Robert." "I'm fine," he said too quickly. But it wasn't nothing. Every corner of the house seemed louder. The tick of the clock, the hum of the fridge, all of it pressing on a silence he couldn't contain. Across town, Maya noticed her mother was quiet too. "You okay, Mom?" Mrs. Johnson smiled, eyes far away. Some days, the past feels close enough to touch. At school, Chloe caught herself staring at Maya in the hallway. Something about the girl, her posture, her eyes, pulled at a place she couldn't explain. That evening, the house grew quieter still. Chloe lingered by the stairs as her parents argued faintly behind a closed door. Her mother's voice trembled. "If it's that woman, Robert, if there's something you're not telling me." He cut her off. "There's nothing to tell." But there was. And the lie hung in the air like fog no one wanted to name. Late that night, Chloe scrolled through her phone. A classmate had sent a photo, her father, in the rain, talking to the janitor. Her chest tightened. "Who are you?" she whispered. The image of her father standing in the rain refused to leave Chloe's mind. She told herself it was nothing, maybe school board business, maybe a friendly gesture. But every time she replayed the photo in her head, the same question gnawed. Why had he looked so broken? At school the next day, she found excuses to wander near the maintenance wing. Through the half-open door of the supply closet, she spotted Mrs. Johnson rinsing out a mop. Something in the woman's calm bothered her. The stillness, the quiet confidence. Chloe hesitated at the doorway. "You're Maya's mom, right?" Mrs. Johnson turned. "Yes, I am. You were talking to my father the other night." Mrs. Johnson dried her hands slowly. "That's right. What about?" There was a long pause. Then, gently, "About things grown-ups wish they'd said sooner." It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't an answer either. Chloe felt a strange unease crawl up her spine, something between suspicion and fear. That night, Chloe waited for her father to come home. When he finally did, coat soaked from the rain again, she stood in the doorway. "Dad, who is Mrs. Johnson?" His hand froze on the doorknob. "Someone I used to know. You looked like you knew her well." He didn't answer. Hours later, Chloe crept down the hall. His study door was open. He sat there, head bowed, whispering into his hands. "I didn't know. God, I didn't know." She stepped back, heart racing, breath caught. Didn't know what? Didn't know who? In her room, she stared at the photo again. The janitor's face. Her father's. And one unbearable question rising like a tide. What connects them? The next morning, the Whitmore home felt thinner, as though silence had scraped something out of its walls. Chloe couldn't stop hearing it. "I didn't know." She'd whispered it to herself a dozen times between dreams. By afternoon, she couldn't stand it anymore. Her father's car was in the driveway when she got home. The study door stood half closed, light spilling through the crack like confession. She pushed it open. "Dad." Robert looked up from a stack of papers. He'd changed into his usual armor, gray suit, calm smile. But the weariness beneath it gave him away. "Hey, sweetheart. You're home early. Can we talk?" He nodded, leaning back. "Of course. What's wrong?" Chloe stepped closer. "I need you to be honest with me." He hesitated. "About what?" She swallowed. "The woman who cleans the school. Mrs. Johnson." The air shifted. Even the clock seemed to hold its breath. Robert's mouth opened, then closed again. "What about her? I saw you with her that night. In the rain." Her voice wavered. "You looked different. Like you knew her." He rubbed his temples, searching for words. "Chloe, this isn't. Just tell me the truth," she snapped. Then, softer, "Please." He stared at the desk, at the empty frame where a family photo used to sit before he'd moved it away. Finally, he said it, the words breaking like something old inside him. 16 years ago, before I met your mother, I knew her. Renee Johnson." Chloe's knees went weak. "You knew her?" "We were young. It wasn't an affair then. Just a moment that never should have ended the way it did. I left for Chicago soon after. I didn't know she was pregnant. I swear I didn't." Chloe sank into the chair opposite him, heartbeat loud in her ears. "Maya," she whispered. "Her daughter." He nodded slowly. "My daughter, too." The words hung in the air, soft but violent. Chloe's throat tightened. "So all this time, while I was laughing at her, treating her like she didn't belong, she's your sister," he finished quietly. Tears stung her eyes before she could stop them. "You always told me our family was about integrity. That lies destroy people. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I just found out," he said, voice trembling. "Renee never told me. She didn't want to ruin the life I'd built." "Ruin it?" Chloe's voice cracked. "You think knowing the truth ruins things? Maybe it's the pretending that does." He reached across the desk, hand shaking. "Chloe, listen." She stood, stepping back. "Don't. You had a whole life built on not knowing. But now you do. And so do I." Her voice trembled, but her eyes didn't. The house was quiet except for the sound of dishes clinking faintly in the kitchen, the kind of silence that grows heavy when everyone's pretending it's normal. Chloe sat at the top of the stairs, knees pulled to her chest, listening to the murmurs below. Her mother's voice drifted up, low, shaking, sharp around the edges. "You should have told me the truth, Robert. I didn't even know the truth until this week. And now the whole town will." "No," he said firmly. "No one needs to know. It's between us and the girls." The girls. The word cut her open. Her mother's sob caught halfway. "Do you think this makes her less yours?" He sighed. "No. And Chloe doesn't need to know she was adopted. She'll always be ours." Something shattered. A plate, maybe, or just her mother's composure. Chloe rose, heart thudding, and retreated to her room before they could see her shadow on the stairs. That night, she found her mother in the living room, folding a blanket that didn't need folding. "Mom." Mrs. Whitmore looked up, eyes red. "Hey, sweetheart. You okay?" "I heard you downstairs," Chloe said carefully. "You said something about me being—" Her voice trailed off. Mrs. Whitmore froze. "Oh, Chloe," she whispered. "You weren't supposed to hear that yet. Is it true?" Her mother set the blanket down, every motion painfully slow. "Yes," she said finally. "You were adopted when you were just a few weeks old. Your father and I wanted a child so badly. We didn't hide it out of shame, just because it never felt like something that defined you." Chloe's voice broke. "But it does now." Tears blurred her vision. "The girl I mocked at school is my father's real daughter, and I'm not even his." Mrs. Whitmore crossed to her, reaching out. "You are his in every way that matters. But not in the way that counts to him right now." Her mother's arms tightened around her, but Chloe didn't move. After a long moment, she whispered, "All my life, I've bragged about where I came from. Turns out, I don't even know what that means." Mrs. Whitmore pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. Maybe that's the beginning, Chloe, not the end. Later, in her room, Chloe scrolled through old photos, birthdays, vacations, smiling faces that suddenly felt staged. For the first time, she didn't recognize the girl in them. Her reflection in the dark window stared back like a stranger. She whispered to it, "Who am I, really?" No answer came. Only the soft patter of rain, the same rain that had started everything. Downstairs, her father stood alone in the study, staring out at the night. Two daughters. One he'd raised, but not fathered. One he'd fathered, but not raised. And the cruelest truth of all, both deserved the same love. The afternoon corridors buzzed with post-exam noise. Maya walked alone, hugging her notebooks to her chest, eyes fixed on the floor. Word had spread, half-truths, fragments. The janitor's kid. The board member's secret. Whispered like gossip, handled like sport. She kept walking. Her mother had told her silence was armor. Today, it felt like weight. At the far end of the hall, Chloe stood by the lockers, pulse racing. She had rehearsed 100 versions of this moment, and every one ended with the same two words, "I'm sorry." When Maya reached her locker, Chloe stepped forward. Maya stiffened. "What do you want, Chloe?" Her tone wasn't angry, just tired, the kind of tired that stops expecting kindness. "I just need to talk," Chloe said. "Please." Maya shut her locker slowly. "If this is another joke." "It's not." Her voice trembled. "It's really not." The hallway noise faded as if the world wanted to hear. "I know about your mom," Chloe said. "And my dad. I know everything." Maya frowned. "What are you talking about?" Chloe's breath hitched. "He didn't know about you, Maya. Not until last week. But now he does. And so do I." She hesitated. "You're my sister." The words hung there, fragile, disbelieving. Maya stared at her, waiting for the cruelty behind them. None came. "I've said horrible things to you," Chloe went on. "I thought being better was something you could prove. I was wrong." Tears welled, but she didn't hide them. "I'm sorry, Maya. I really am." For a long moment, Maya said nothing. Then she leaned back against the locker, arms folded, not angry, just stunned. "You think sorry fixes weeks of insults and jokes?" Chloe shook her head. "No, but it's all I have to start with." The bell rang. Students flooded the corridor and vanished again. When the hall was quiet, Maya finally sighed. "I used to think you didn't have a soul," she said softly. "But right now, I kind of see it." Chloe laughed through tears. "That's the nicest insult anyone's ever given me." A small smile tugged at Maya's lips. "We're sisters." "Half," Chloe said. "But I think the better half's you." At the far end, Mrs. Johnson appeared, watching, eyes damp, proud, peaceful. She didn't interrupt. She simply said, "Girls, it's time to go home." They fell into step beside her. For the first time, no one looked down. As they passed a group of whispering students, Chloe straightened her shoulders and met their eyes. The whispers stopped. A soft breeze carried the scent of freshly cut grass through the school courtyard. The final bell of the year had rung hours ago, but a few students lingered, snapping pictures and signing yearbooks beneath the spreading oak. At the edge of the field, Maya stood in her simple white blouse, acceptance letter folded neatly in her hand. The scholarship results had been posted that morning. She'd gotten it. Her mother had told her it came from an anonymous donor, but Maya knew some truths didn't need names. Across the courtyard, Mr. Whitmore watched from a distance, half hidden by the gym doors. His tie was loose, his posture quiet. When Maya caught his gaze, she didn't look away. She gave a small nod, not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. He returned it, his throat tight. A few feet away, Chloe approached, holding 2 paper cups of iced tea. "Congratulations," she said. Maya smiled. "Thanks." They sat on the steps together, the sunlight warm on their faces. "Are you ready for summer?" Chloe asked. "Yeah. My mom says we might visit my grandmother's old house." "That sounds nice." "You?" "Dad's making me help with community programs this year." Guess I owe the world some scrubbing. Maya laughed. Just don't flood the hallways. I'll try, Chloe said. They sipped their tea in comfortable silence. Down the walkway, Mrs. Johnson passed with her cleaning cart, chatting softly with the new custodian. When she saw the two girls together, she smiled. The quiet, private kind that belongs to people who have lived through storms. The sun began to dip, painting the courtyard gold. Chloe stood, brushing dust from her skirt. Hey, she said, glancing at Maya. Walk with me. Maya nodded. They crossed the courtyard slowly, the world soft around them. One girl who had everything except truth, another who had truth, but not everything. Now, they had each other. The line between privilege and poverty is thinner than we think, sometimes carved not by merit, but by chance. And when chance is humbled by truth, humanity finds its balance again. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button, and subscribe for more human stories, tales of truth, forgiveness, and grace.